KC Laboratory. Sponsored by Emprise Bank.
Another live episode of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank. Just like you and your business, Andy Reid always has a play in his back pocket. Let Emprise be yours with competitive interest rates, various term options, and SBA guaranteed loans. Emprise will help you score when it matters most. Emprise Bank, our partner, impossible. Member FDIC. So appreciative of them. It is a big day today. I got to ask Maddie Lane off the top. Find him on Twitter at Chief in Carolina. Who we got? Georgia or Bama tonight?
Georgia. Take the better team. Take the team that has more talent.
Craig Stout. Find him on Twitter at Barley Hop. I can hear the disgust.
I think Craig's just used to me always backing Bama and Nick Saban.
Yeah.
I think that's what that was. Like,
that's what it was. Yeah, it was
there's
entirely...
been almost no time that I have not backed Saban and Bama, but I do think when you watch them this year, this Georgia team is more talented. I think this is the least talented Bama team this specific year that they've had in a minute. Losing Mechie, I think that matters. Yeah, I'll take Georgia. I just simply think they're more talented. They might get outcoached, though. I mean, that's the way they lose. They get outcoached.
I have a feeling it's going to be a close game, which we can't say about the previous, iterations of these games in the semifinals here. But I do feel like these will be close games. I'm going to go Bama. It's entirely, Saban-esque and relying on him to put together a good game plan. It just took me aback that Maddie, and I know Maddie loves the Georgia talent. Don't get me wrong. It just still took me aback to hear him not side with Saban. I'm shocked. Shocked.
It was just
listen. If I'm wrong, last time ever, because he will eliminate me. Number one, but number two, I'll never live it down if I'm wrong here. The one time I'm going to pick against Saban, if it backfires on me, I deserve it.
It was just the way Craig responded. He's like, give me Georgia. I'm gonna side with Maddie on something for once.
It scares me to side with Stetson Bennett. I just have to say, it really does scare me to side with Stetson Bennett. But
yes.
We're
I 100% agree with that sentiment. And I mean, the Bama did just bop them. Anyways, let's talk about all kinds of stuff today. A lot's happened. Maddie, we haven't talked to you since the AFC playoff field was decided. Do you just have any thoughts off the top?
Yeah, I watched zero football on Sunday because it was week 18. It was ridiculous. I didn't care. I literally did anything but watch football. I watched about 5 plays. So it happened. Chiefs got the best draw they possibly could with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I have no clue why they're playing in primetime. That makes no sense. That game is a midday game if I've ever heard of one. And I think I'm making Chiefs fans upset by saying that. And they're saying Chiefs and Steelers are ratings. No, you know who's ratings? Dallas and San Francisco. That's ratings. What the Chiefs and Steelers are going to do is going to pale in comparison. So that getting a primetime game I thought was really, really weird. But alas, here we are. Chiefs get a good, favorable matchup in round 1. It's like, hey, 2 thumbs up there. And I didn't have to watch, more than one week 18 game of football.
You missed like the best week of football of the season. You really did. It was amazing.
It was entertaining from the beginning because like the Texans Titans game was kind of interesting. I mean, the comeback from Davis Mills, the more talented version of Mac Jones.
I'll go watch preseason week 3 if I want to see all this. That's exactly what it was.
I don't think Chargers Raiders had any air of preseason football. That was one of the most entertaining.
Buddy, people were debating if they were trying to tie on purpose. That is the epitome of
dude. We don't know. Don't listen, man. I'm starting to finally get over that. Don't you bring it up again,
Maddie? You missed it last night. Can I just say, watching Craig watch the end of that game was more entertaining than anything I've done in like 6 months. Like, it was so funny because he was just gleefully hoping for that tie and it didn't happen. That's okay. All right, let's talk a little bit about the Chiefs here. Because last night we kind of talked a little just about the overarching outlook of the AFC. Today, we need to start pivoting towards the realities of your Kansas City Chiefs, this football team that we all love and root for. This has been a weird year. Up and downs, both sides of the football. There have been inconsistencies. It seems like they're kind of starting to come together at about the right time. I'm gonna ask you this off the top, Maddie. Do you think we've seen the best game, most complete game for this Chiefs team this year?
That's hard to answer because the first 3 quarters versus the Pittsburgh Steelers looked about as complete as it could be just in terms of domination. But that's the Pittsburgh Steelers, which they're playing again. So, hey, good for them. But it's also
Playoff team, Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's right.
That's also not a real team. So, like, it's hard to say. Now, if you remove just that game, no. I mean, you clearly, I don't even know if you could point to another game that you would even consider being a complete game for the Chiefs if you take away that Steelers game. It's been a long while since they've probably put one of those together. So I would anticipate them playing, if they do what we think, if they play up to their potential, and their best game is clearly yet to come still.
Yeah, I think we look at this team, and I mean it's a 12-win team. They went 12-5. They are the 2 seed in the AFC. It's not like this is a bad team, and yet it kind of feels like all year long we've been waiting for this team to click all the way. Like we've seen elements, we've seen glimpses of it being like that level of dominance on both sides of the ball. Like realistically, we've seen the Chiefs defense be absolutely dominant for stretches. We've seen the Chiefs offense be absolutely dominant for 15 plays, and it's been nice. And so, like, you want to see that all together. You want to see that all put together in a meaningful way. And I think all along we just kind of been thinking, all right, at some point it's going to happen. At some point, this is going to get put together. At some point, they're going to do this against a defense that's not Gus Bradley. You're going to see it be a complete performance. And now is the time that if it's going to happen, if there was any sort of, holding back, if there was any sort of maybe don't show everything that Andy's got in his playbook, it's now. Like It should be from here on out. If this team is going to click and fire on the cylinders that we know they can as a Super Bowl contending team, this is the point where you start to see that.
I think it's inarguable that the Kansas City Chiefs have the highest ceiling of any team in the National Football League. And I think they've flexed their muscles and they've put, feasible ceilings, feasible, real, high marks on both sides of the football that I don't think anybody can really go toe to toe with. It's just a matter if we're going to get that kind of team on both sides of the football for this home stretch. And, we kind of speak in realities because the reality isn't that this team has achieved their ceiling at a consistent clip. It's just not true. As we kind of just talked, there really hasn't been a ton of complete performances to this point. So you kind of got to balance speaking in the reality of what this team is and what they're capable of doing. So offensively, Maddie, what do you think? What do you think this team is? Like, what do you think this offense is? Moving forward, but also like based on the sample size and the evidence we have to this point.
Inconsistent at best. I mean, their last 6 quarters of football have been terrible. And I get it, at the end of the Bengals game, they didn't have a lot of opportunities, but it still wasn't good. And then they were shooting themselves in the foot. So you're bringing in execution issues. It's hard to put much stock into the Denver Broncos game. I fully understand that. But you don't want to go into the playoffs coming off this 6-quarter stretch that the Chiefs offense is right now. It doesn't look good. You can't be feeling warm and fuzzy about that. Now, as I'm going to keep coming back to, the Chiefs are getting a get right as soon as the playoffs starts. Like, you want to get your confidence going again, but you're getting that. But I think you see some elements that make this offense look dangerous. Travis Kelce's game against the Chargers, as the Chiefs kind of figured that out during the COVID game, that makes you feel good that he's healthy. He's capable of taking over a game when he can. Tyreek Hill's performance, I mean, he also had a great game then. You've seen Tyreek Hill be a little bit up and down throughout the year, but he's still been very effective, so they still have that. The emergence of Byron Pringle here down the stretch as a potential true number 3 wide receiver is helping a lot. The run game's very up and down, but you had a ton of success you just saw versus the Bengals of being a physically dominant football team. So there's so many little elements that you love about what this offense is. But right now, you're just trying to piece all those things together like a puzzle, and you haven't figured out how it fits together yet. And the Chiefs, I mean, you're entering the playoffs now. You're now entering the playoffs. You don't have a lot of time left to fix this puzzle. Like, it's got to be fixed in the next 2 weeks, or you're probably going to get bounced out of the playoffs because your offense is too inconsistent.
Yeah. And, you have been waiting for those tertiary elements to show up a little bit to help out with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Now you're in crunch time. Now you're going to see defenses throwing everything they can at this offense to try and take away those two guys because that's the engine of this Chiefs team. So, like Maddie said, Byron Pringle stepping up, McCole Hardman having some good games to close out the year. Some good McCole Hardman games. That's good for the Chiefs to have on tape, for the Chiefs to be able to rely on going into the playoffs here, because there's going to be a dedicated focus to taking those guys away. And we have seen times in the middle of this season where defenses have just been able to blanket those guys. And it's bad. Like, it has been bad. We've also seen some games where the Chiefs have had guys start to step up. And that's kind of when this started to turn around, where you started to see less of this traditional too high or the late rotation or, all the stuff that the narratives throughout the season are fantastic, So you started to see some of that disappear. You started to see some more of these guys step up. You started to see the run game going. They put a lot on tape. There has been a lot that the Chiefs have done except getting vertical. And that's kind of the element that's missed a little bit. Now, they've tried at times, but they've missed that a little bit as the season's gone along and played a lot more conservative, knowing that teams are probably going to try and put that dome over the top of it. I'm wondering if we're going to see some of those shots, some of those route combinations, some of the things that stress those safeties and pull them out of position a little bit more. And we're going to see Mahomes start taking some of those shots in the playoffs, knowing full well that they were just content to kind of conservatively move the ball down the field and still score pretty much at will, especially at the beginning of games.
It's so weird because the Chiefs' offensive DVOA, according to Football Outsiders, is third in the National Football League. But I think you ask Chiefs fans, I think they would agree that there are a lot of inconsistencies in what we've seen to this point. And it's such a weird dynamic to navigate because I think situationally there have been moments in games where the Chiefs needed more out of the offense and they didn't step up. And maybe, there's been moments where, they didn't need that many points. They're out there running it up the score. So it's just like, it's funny that I think the inconsistencies, to Maddie's point, are true, despite the fact that they are one of the top 5 DVO offenses in football. But I think it just speaks to situational football at times. I think it just speaks to somewhat the standard that has been set here in Kansas City with this offense. Like
a high bar. When you set a high bar like that and you perform at 90% of that bar, people wonder what's wrong with you, even though you're still good.
Well, here's kind of a barometer. Where do you think the Chiefs rank in third down conversions this year? Just third down conversion rate.
No clue.
I don't have any idea. I know what
comfortable
they are
first. Comfortable first. Yeah, it's surprising, right?
It
doesn't feel like it at all. They are a comfortable first. Now, that said, on 3rd and 7+, where the Chiefs have been dominant, they are one of the worst in the NFL. They are absolutely dreadful at 3rd and 7+, but still somehow on third down conversion rate, they are comfortably in first place. It's just, that goes to show you, like, there's such a high bar that being the only team converting over half of your third downs, and nobody, like, fans don't notice. Fans have no concept that they are by far the best third down converting team in the NFL right now because it looks so clunky. It looks so sluggish so often. It looks like it's hard. Offense doesn't look easy for them right now. And I think that's kind of the big difference. And it's come to bite them. Like, it's clearly come back to bite them. You look at the Bengals game. They are putting themselves in must-have third downs. They weren't converting. They lose the game. But like on a game-by-game basis, the offense is still really good. It just doesn't look the same, and it's hard to fully buy in when you're used to that right now.
I know it's getting into those like 3rd and short situations, which is a testament to playing conservative and relying on the run game a little bit more. But you get into these manageable situations. I mean, how many times have we seen we've seen Blake Bell sneak a whole lot of plays. We've seen a lot of Michael Burton fullback dives. We've seen a lot of this stuff that are short yardage staples that have just been automatic for the Chiefs. And them getting into those situations is good. It just looks so much different than the kind of And it wasn't even high variance before. Then the more explosive, the more intermediate, the more downfield stuff that we're just so used to Patrick
The more
Mahomes.
fun. The more fun.
Listen, Maddie's words, not mine, but we're just so used to seeing it so far downfield that it takes a little while to adjust. And you know what won't take a little while to adjust? Getting our good pals at Macadoodles in your life in Lee's Summit, summer of this very year. You are going to go here as soon as it opens. You're going to go over to this Macadoodles. You're going to walk in and it's going to change your life. You're not going to want to go into another liquor store. I don't care that it's convenient, that there's not one by your house. You're going to drive all the way out there every single time because it's got the best selection, the best prices, and the best customer service. You're going to go out there so often that you're going to start blowing up every franchisee's phone that you can find to get one to you. You're going to start yelling at them because you're having to spend so much time and money driving to this location rather than having one close to you. So before you do that, you should get ahead of this. Get a hold of those people. Tell them to get a hold of Roger, info@macadoodles.com, and start sprinkling these babies all over Kansas City so you don't have to drive so far to get to the best place, the ideal place to buy your liquor, Macadoodles.
All right, let's talk about the defensive side of the football, kind of the same thing we just did on offense. I want to talk about kind of, the identity of this defense. What is this defense? What can we expect? What's the known about this defense, Maddie? What you think?
Hit and miss, dynamic. I don't want to say inconsistent necessarily because it's very consistent. It's just domination or getting torched. There's no in between. And I mean, that's not surprising for Steve Spagnuolo. That's been his defensive style since he's been in the NFL. He throws everything at you, and it either works or it doesn't. Like, very rarely has he been part of this bend, don't break strategy. And I know sometimes this year I've seen people call out that that's what it seems like what they're doing. I don't think so. That's not really in Steve Spagnuolo's nature to just gladly give up 12 yards at a time and not try to do anything about it. I mean, he's going all in. So he's either going to lose all of his chips on that hand or he's going to snuff somebody out. And this year you've seen that. Bad offenses, they've crushed. Bad offenses versus this Chiefs team, this Chiefs defense has been, just completely obliterated. Don't pay attention to this last Denver game where nobody cared. But like every other bad offense has been absolutely dominated. And then you get some good offenses. Offenses that are willing to take offenses that counter his style a little bit. And it can look ugly. It can look like the Chiefs aren't even trying to win the game on the defensive side of the ball. I guarantee you they are. But it looks like they're not trying to just because he's going to be a guy that's going to go all in. You wish that you could find a happy medium occasionally. It's just that's not in his DNA. That's not who Steve Spagnuolo is, and I think you see that with this defense.
And you wouldn't want to change it. Like, that's the other part of that. It works. You got a Super Bowl from Steve Spagnuolo playing this way. You've been to another Super Bowl from Steve Spagnuolo playing that way. And it took a reffing crew to call some of the physical play on the outside to really kind of ruin his game plan in the last Super Bowl. So, like, you look at Steve Spagnuolo and you say, okay, so what's going to happen here with all these coaches that have gotten fired today, this Monday, that, thank goodness us Chiefs fans haven't had to go through in a long time. But you look at all these coaches that are getting fired. I'm seeing people blowing up my mentions with, hey, would you go after this guy instead of Spags? Would you do this instead of Spags? Would you do that? This team is built for Spags. And it's going to continue to be built for Spags. It's built for this offense to get a lead. It's built for them to pin their ears back, to force quarterbacks to throw into the teeth of this pressure, and for these cornerbacks to play physical. And if you take some of that away, if you take their ability to get into obvious passing situations because they don't play well on first or second down, if you take away the ability to play physical on the outside because the refs decide to call a tight game, if you take away the ability to really rush the passer and blitz because you're missing guys or guys are just having off games, you start to see stuff fall apart very quickly. Conversely, it takes pretty much all three of those things to go wrong for Steve Spagnuolo's defense to really look poor. He can win with two of those things. He can win with one of those things at times, as Chris Jones has shown us in the past year, showing up, just ruining games. So you do have a little bit more variance in multiple ways, multiple avenues to win. And that's going to be beneficial in the playoffs where they're going to see a lot of different styles of offense. They're going to see some high flying stuff. They're going to see some run heavy stuff. They're going to see whatever they're going to see this weekend. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
I think I called it the worst offense to watch in football
I think
time we previewed the game.
Yeah. And Maddie's muted.
Dang, I had a killer zinger about Joe Judge's offense for the Giants in Week 18. It's not real football and offense, but alas,
I thought you didn't watch. I thought you didn't watch Week 18.
Oh, I've seen the clips, buddy. There's a lot of clips of QB sneaks on 3rd and 9 going around right now.
Yeah,
dude, Jason Garrett's offense was the grossest thing I've ever seen. And I mean, I know he's a nice guy. It sucks that he got fired. That offense was putrid. It was just so disgusting. The Steelers isn't. I mean, you guys you watched a couple weeks ago. y'all watched.
You did.
Your mentions aren't much different than mine, Craig. I've seen a lot of people asking if Brian Flores should be the new defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think Brian Flores is getting another head coaching job.
He should.
Probably he might have
Next
one already.
week.
I know it's like he might have one by now. But yeah, I don't understand. I don't think Steve Spagnuolo was the problem early in the year. I don't think it was a big Spags problem when they were having their issues. I think it was a talent problem. And I think you saw the wealth of talent that was struggling, that was hurt. And pieces kind of started to come together a little bit. Chris moving along more consistently into the interior was a big help for sure. And that really kind of helped. Willie Gay returning. Some of the other injuries that they had, I think changed some things. But I didn't really think it was entirely a Spags problem. A lot of people had a lot of things to say about Steve Spagnuolo earlier in the year. I didn't think were entirely fair. I'm going to ask you this question, guys. One position group on defense that can really just make a big impact. Like what's the skills? What's the position group that's going to make a big impact on the Chiefs playoff run here?
The cornerbacks, because they can go either direction. I think. I mean, that's why I'm going to lean there. Is it can be really bad. See Cincinnati. It could be really good, and I mean, there's a couple games you can choose from that. It's just all about what type of offense they're playing against. Oddly, I really think only Cincinnati and the AFC is a really bad matchup just in terms of offensive philosophy and the Chiefs cornerbacks. I think the Bills have the talent to take advantage, but they're still not a throw the ball up the sidelines and YOLO play, every other snap. So I really think the Bengals are the only bad matchup for the cornerbacks. But we've also seen Rashad Finn is a good quality player. He's not a plus starter at cornerback. Charvarius Ward's having his best year, but you've seen a couple weeks now where he's been a little bit of a liability in coverage on certain situations. They don't have a great cornerback room. So I could see them losing a game for the Chiefs again. I could also see them playing really well as they've done throughout the majority of the year and helping win a game.
It's defensive line. We have seen this defensive line take over games. We've seen Chris Jones take over games. We've seen Frank Clark take over games. We just saw Melvin Ingram take over a game that people were kind of sleepwalking through a little bit until Melvin Ingram shows up and absolutely ruins it, like game-changing plays. So we've seen that defensive line really make their money's worth. They have at a lot of times this season. We've also seen some times where they are not getting a lot of pressure. I don't expect them to get a lot of pressure against the Steelers because Ben Roethlisberger's not going to hold the ball. That's fine. We're going to need those guys to step up if and when the Chiefs get beyond this week. They're playing some of these more traditional drop back teams. Some teams are going to hold the ball a little bit longer and try and look for some of these longer developing routes. That's where Frank Clark, Chris Jones, Melvin Ingram, Jaron Reed, Mike Dana, Alex Okafor, these guys have really shown up. They really have throughout the course of this year, just kind of individually. If we can see them coming in waves, kind of like we did with that Raiders pass rush last night, where it was just rep after rep after rep of destruction, and you just make these quarterbacks so uncomfortable, there is no reason why this defense can't win a game in the playoffs, even against some of these good offenses. They have the talent on the defensive line. There is zero reason why they can't step up and just ruin a game plan, anybody's game plan, even Buffalo's game plan, really step up and annihilate them.
I think a group that we don't talk about very much lately that could really impact the playoffs is the safeties. The best, I think there's capable ball production from the safeties. And we haven't seen a lot of that this year, but we know that there's guys that can make plays on the football. Tyrann Mathieu, Juan Thornhill are guys that have shown in the past their ability to get their hands on the football. And it feels like I don't know the last time that we've seen one of those two guys really put their, make a play on the football, but we know it's in there. We know what they're capable of doing. It's kind of surprising. Now thinking about it, it's really surprising we haven't seen that in a while. I mean,
we've seen Tyrann around some fumbles and things like that, but I mean, that's been it. Yeah.
I mean, like they're really haven't this. I don't know how many interceptions this team has really forced, if we're being honest. It's been a lot of forcing punts.
Well, they were at one point in time pretty high up in forced turnovers on the years. Like they've been getting them. It's just been in weird ways. As far as like why the safeties aren't, I think you see in teams on offense, like the best way I heard it put, and this is pretty recently, teams try to throw the ball into certain triangles. So you're going to place a triangle somewhere on the field. That's where the team's trying to throw the football. Against the Chiefs, that triangle it extends from shallow to deep on the sideline and then shallow over the middle of the field. Like that's where the triangle is. It's avoiding those safeties at all costs. It's gotten so bad. Teams are avoiding like even like the shallow intermediate area of the middle of the field. They don't want to put the ball near Tyrann Mathieu nor Juan Thornhill. It's like the opportunities to come up with interceptions, it does feel are incredibly reduced, but it does seem like you're kind of due for a big game or a couple splash plays out of those guys because they're both too good at making plays on the ball to be as quiet for as long as they have been in that regard. Just eventually a team's going to try to throw the ball there, and it wasn't Burrow. I don't know if it'll be Big Ben. Like, I don't know when they're going to see like the next quarterback really willing to challenge them.
It's fair.
Yeah. I mean, and it's working when you're challenging the cornerbacks because, frankly, they haven't played well the past 2 weeks. They really haven't played well. I mean, we can talk about missed tackles and things like that have just been plaguing this defense over the past, several weeks now that may come and bite them in the ass here in the playoffs. But the big explosive plays are coming because the cornerbacks are getting beat. Drew Lock missed some passes where there were some guys behind cornerbacks. And with this cornerback group that's kind of a rhythm group that requires maybe a little bit of, runway to get into things and some motivation, some consistency that they're playing before they may meet up with some of these guys that are bigger matchups. It's a problem because right now, Jamar Chase destroyed this defense. Last week, they struggled to cover on the outside as well. So I am not 100% about this cornerback group going into the playoffs against a lot of good passing offenses. Hopefully, they can get their mojo back against the Steelers, build some confidence into future games against better teams.
Well, if you want confidence in your ring buying experience, you need to go to Ruback Fine Jewelry. And I'm telling you, this is this has been a time of year where a lot of people are getting engaged. I've seen some friends get engaged. I've told them, go to Ruback Fine Jewelry. We've had some friends take us up on that. Hello, shout out my dear pal Joshua Briscoe. And the feedback is always, Hal is great. Because he is. Hal is great. And Hal is what makes Ruback so special. You set an appointment with him. He's going to sit down with you. He's going to go through the ring buying experience, the ring buying process. He's going to tell you as little or as much as you want. He's going to stay within your budget. You're not going to have some pushy salesman trying to get you to go beyond what you want to spend, like some of these big box stores out here in the city. So go talk to Hal at Ruback Fine Jewelry. Go to ruback.co. Go online, set your appointment. I promise you, you will not regret it. Make it part of your experience. Okay. Normally, this is where we do stickers, slaps, and spirits for the game.
We have never done that in 30 minutes. Just going to throw that out there.
The national championship game is on, and two of us would like to go watch it, Matthew. So, no one cares about the Denver game anymore. I want to do something fun. Stickers, slaps, and spirits for the regular season. Can I spring that on you guys? I'll go first.
Sure.
How about that? I want to give a helmet sticker to the guy that changed helmet stickers halfway through the season. Melvin Ingram, the Chiefs acquire him before the trade deadline for a measly 6th-round pick. He comes in and makes a significant impact on this football team. His pass rush, his experience, his veteran leadership, and impactful plays. He's made some big splash plays as recently as last week against the Denver Broncos, a game-changing play. And so shout out to Melvin Ingram. You get a helmet sticker for your impact on this defensive side of the football. All right, who's getting a slap?
This is a tricky one for a whole season-long slap. That's a big one. We're going to have to go with Andrew Wiley. Stepping in, playing right tackle. You would have anticipated coming into the year that's going to be Lucas Niang, maybe Mike Rimmers because he looked a little bit better when he started playing, but both guys get injured off and on throughout the year. Neither one of them are available now, and you've had Andrew Wiley playing right tackle for a little bit, and he's been fine. Like, he hasn't been great, but he certainly has not been a liability. He's certainly in no way, shape, or form made the Chiefs entirely adjust their entire offensive structure. Sans maybe 1 or 2 games here and there. Yes, TJ Watt, Max Crosby, like really good pass rushers are still going to get the better of him. But for the most part, he's holding his own. He's allowing the offense to function within the flow that they want it to. So that's worth noting. That's worth taking a look at and appreciating right now, because as you get to the playoffs, teams will probably try to exploit that more. So don't lose out on how good he was during the regular season. If he has a rough postseason, he did a great job. It's not his fault that he's in this situation again if you get a repeat of the Super Bowl performance. It's not on him. Hopefully he's playing better this year. He looks like it right now. So just remember how good he was during this stretch if things turn south when the playoffs start.
I'm giving my whole ass bottle of vodka. I wanted to give it to the entire Chiefs interior offensive line that's played phenomenal all year long.
They're too young. They can't even legally drink yet. They're so young.
Yeah, that's true. Joe Tooney can split it amongst all of them. I'm giving it to Darrell Williams. 1,000 yards from scrimmage, Darrell Williams. Before the season started, we talked a lot about who would be that third option. And I think to a person, we all kind of went down the line and said, it's going to be Clyde. Clyde's going to be the guy that's going to be third in yards from scrimmage, going to be third in targets, going to be third in all this stuff. Clyde got hurt, wasn't quite as effective this season. All Darrell Williams did is what he always does every single season, wait out his opportunity and step up when it's asked of him. He has had a phenomenal season, and having him as a backup has allowed the Chiefs to continue to run the offense that they want to run without Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's allowed them to really continue at a high clip, being able to run the plays that they want to do, and he's been a hell of a receiver too. So a whole ass bottle of vodka to Darrell Williams, really stepping up in a big, big way, similar to Andrew Wiley, but man, they're going to need Darrell Williams throughout this playoff run. Even with Clyde back, they're going to need him there. So, good job, man.
We've been waiting for this for 10 months. The Chiefs are back in the playoffs. They're looking to make it back to the Super Bowl again to avenge what happened in February of 2021. It starts on Sunday. We'll be previewing Chiefs Steelers in the wild card round on Wednesday night. Be on the lookout for that. Make sure you're checking out everything going on the KCSN Substack, everything on the KCSN YouTube channel, wherever you are finding us. Make sure you are locked in because we've got a lot of great stuff coming this week. We'll catch you later.